He thought it was just a bad dream. But when he woke up, he wasn't in his bed. He wasn't even in his house. And the nightmare was just beginning. Daniel McKay was just an average guy, 32 years old, single, and living in a small apartment on the edge of town. He worked a quiet desk job at a shipping company, spent his evenings gaming, and occasionally hung out with a few friends at a local bar. One Friday night, after a long week at work, Daniel decided to stay in and binge-watch his favorite horror series. He ordered takeout, turned off his phone, and settled into his couch. By midnight, he was dozing off, the TV still playing in the background. That's when he heard the noise. It was faint at first, like a soft scraping sound. He figured it was just the wind, or maybe the neighbor's cat, but then it got louder, closer. Probably nothing, he mumbled to himself, trying to shake off the creeping unease. But when the sound turned into a sharp, deliberate knock on the window, his heart skipped a beat. Daniel lived on the second floor, and there was no fire escape on that side of the building. Nobody should have been at his window. He hesitated, debating whether to check it out or just ignore it. But curiosity won. Slowly, he approached the window and pulled back the curtain. No one was there. He laughed nervously, scolding himself for being paranoid. But as he turned back toward the couch, he froze. There, in the middle of his living room, stood a man in a dark hoodie, his face obscured by shadows. Before Daniel could react, the man lunged at him. The next thing he knew, he was waking up in a small, dimly lit room. His hands and feet were bound, and his head throbbed with pain. The walls were bare, the floor concrete, and the single light bulb overhead flickered ominously. Panic set in as he struggled against the ropes, his mind racing. Who had taken him? Why? Where was he? Hours passed, or maybe it was days. Time felt meaningless in that room. He shouted for help, pounded on the walls, but no one came. Then one night, the door creaked open, a figure entered wearing the same dark hoodie. But this time, Daniel could see the man's face, or what was left of it. His skin was pale and scarred, his eyes sunken and lifeless. He didn't speak. He just placed a tray of food on the floor and left without a word. Daniel's fear turned to desperation. He knew he had to escape, but every attempt to loosen the ropes or pry open the door ended in failure. As the days dragged on, strange things began to happen. He would hear whispers in the middle of the night, though no one else was in the room. The walls seemed to pulse, as if alive. And sometimes, when he closed his eyes, he saw visions of a dark forest, of shadowy figures, watching him from the trees. Daniel's screams were heard by no one. When the police eventually found the room weeks later, it was empty. No sign of Daniel, no sign of the hooded man, just the photograph lying on the floor. To this day, no one knows what really happened to Daniel McKay, but some say that if you stand outside his apartment window on a quiet night, you can still hear the sound of scraping and a soft, hollow voice whispering, "You let it in." Want more stories like this? Hit subscribe or check out the next one.